Imagine waking up to a Tyrannosaurus Rex licking your face like an overenthusiastic golden retriever. Welcome to What If Horizons, where we explore the ridiculous questions you're too afraid to ask. Today's nightmare fuel: what if dinosaurs had been domesticated like pets? Let's start with the obvious problem: housing. Your average Labrador needs a dog bed. A Brontosaurus needs a parking garage. Picture suburban neighborhoods with Jurassic-sized dog houses, homeowners associations arguing about whose Stegosaurus keeps eating the mailbox decorations, and the eternal struggle of finding a pooper scooper big enough for an Apatosaurus, mourning constitutional. Now consider feeding time. Forget 50-pound bags of kibble, we're talking dump trucks full of prehistoric salad. Your local PetSmart would need forklift certification for employees. And heaven help you if your dino develops a taste for something expensive. Sorry kids, no college fund. Rex only eats organic free-range pterodactyls now. Training would be interesting. Modern dog trainers use clickers and treats. Dino trainers would need air horns and whole cows. Sit becomes a life or death command when dealing with an animal that views your car as a chew toy. Those "my dog ate my homework" excuses upgrade to "my raptor ate my Prius." Veterinary care presents its own challenges. Normal pets get cones of shame. Dinosaurs get construction cones. That routine checkup now requires tranquilizers strong enough to knock out a small country, and good luck finding a flea collar in extra large. Yes doctor, he's been scratching a lot lately, ever since that meteor shower. Then there's travel. Forget pet-friendly hotels, we'd need dino-friendly interstate systems. Rest stops would feature giant scratching posts instead of picnic tables. The TSA would have entirely new meaning as terrified screaming airports when someone tries to bring their Compsognathus as an emotional support animal. Social dynamics get weird fast. That annoying neighbor with the yappy chihuahua. Now it's a yappy velociraptor. Dog parks become fenced canyons. And dating profiles would need new dealbreakers. Must love children, and not in the carnivorous way. Even basic safety measures spiral into absurdity. Leash laws, more like construction crane laws. Bark collars become seismic dampeners. And that "beware of dog" sign now comes with evacuation routes and emergency rations. Yet somehow, human nature being what it is, we'd still have those eccentric dinosaur ladies with 20 tiny micro-raptors in purses. Teenagers would walk their T-Rexes while glued to their phones, completely oblivious as Fido drags them through a Starbucks. And there's always that one guy at the Dino Park who insists he's friendly. As his Carnotaur eye humps your poodle. This barely scratches the surface of our domesticated dino dystopia. The implications stretch from architecture to zoology, from economics to existential dread. But one thing's certain: if history had taken this turn, we wouldn't have cats thinking they rule the world. They'd be right. Let's examine the economic impact of domesticated dinosaurs. The pet industry would need to operate on an entirely different scale. Imagine Petco warehouses the size of Amazon fulfillment centers, stocked with industrial-grade chew toys and dino-sized flea medication. The global supply chain would collapse under the demand for prehistoric kibble, turning farmers into overnight billionaires while the rest of us take out second mortgages to afford our Stegosaurus lunch. The insurance industry would reinvent itself overnight. Forget flood or fire coverage. Every homeowner would need accidental trampling protection. Actuaries would have nervous breakdowns calculating the risk factors for a neighborhood with multiple theropods. Sir, your premium is higher because your T-Rex has that look in its eye again. Transportation infrastructure would require complete overhauls. Highways would need extra lanes for dinosaur walkways. Traffic jams would take on new meaning when a sleepy Brachiosaurus blocks 6 lanes of interstate. The DMV would introduce new license classes: Class D for dromaeosaurs, Class T for tyrannosaurs. The job market would explode with new professions. Dino groomers would need rock climbing gear to scale their clients. Pooper scoopers would operate backhoes instead of plastic bags. And dog walkers, they'd become dino wranglers, armed with cattle prods and health insurance policies that cover being swallowed whole. Real estate values would fluctuate based on dino friendliness. Homes with reinforced walls and triple-paned windows would sell at premium prices, while delicate Victorian architecture becomes fixer-upper material. Zoning laws would spark endless debates. Is a Triceratops livestock or family pet? Homeowner associations would wage bitter wars over appropriate dino leash lengths. The legal system would drown in unprecedented cases. Divorce settlements arguing over custody of the compsognathus. Personal injury lawsuits from friendly tail swipes. Criminal charges for owners whose raptors keep escaping and terrorizing the mail carriers. Law schools would add new specialties in Mesozoic liability. Even basic utilities would struggle to adapt. Water departments would battle constant shortages from thirsty sauropods draining reservoirs. Electric companies would reinforce power lines after one too many, my pterosaur flew into the transformer, incidents. And internet providers would face endless service calls about cables being dug up by curious ankylosaurs. The tourism industry would either boom or collapse. Dino-friendly resorts in tropical locations might thrive, while historic landmarks nervously post, "No titanosaurs allowed" signs. Airlines would introduce new weight restrictions, your carry-on dino must fit completely under the seat in front of you. Meanwhile, the fashion industry would capitalize on new needs. Dino-proof clothing becomes essential, reinforced shoes for accidental stepping, stain-resistant fabrics for enthusiastic drooling. Designers would debut Jurassic chic lines featuring scale patterns and fossil accessories. The runway shows would be spectacular, if occasionally interrupted by models being eaten. The entertainment world would transform completely. Movies shift from dinosaur horror to dinosaur rom-coms. Reality TV follows overworked dino groomers. Video games feature Dino Tamagotchi, simulations where you try to keep your T-Rex from eating the neighbors. And Broadway produces Cats, but with actual saber-toothed tigers. Yet through all this economic chaos, one truth emerges: where there's a will, there's a way to monetize it. From dino dentists to prehistoric pet sitters, humanity would find a way to turn even the most absurd situations into revenue streams. After all, we've already done it with regular pets, we just never needed a crane to give them a bath before. Let's explore the domestic challenges of living with prehistoric pets. That adorable puppy habit of chewing shoes becomes catastrophic when your velociraptor develops a taste for Honda Civics. House training presents unique difficulties when your dino's accident could flood the entire basement. And good luck finding a scratching post sturdy enough for a theropod's manicure session. The concept of personal space evaporates when your lap dinosaur still thinks it's a baby. Imagine watching TV with 2 tons of affectionate reptile trying to cuddle. That cute head tilt dogs do when confused. Terrifying when coming from a creature that could swallow you whole. And the drool stains. Let's just say you'd need a mop the size of a swimming pool. Meal times become logistical nightmares. Forget feeding bowls, you'll need industrial dumpsters. The food bill alone could bankrupt small nations. And the begging, those huge, soulful eyes staring as you try to enjoy a sandwich, except now there's genuine concern they might eat you instead. Table manners go out the window when your dinner guest could literally eat the window. Sleep arrangements require creative solutions. No more letting the pet sleep on the bed unless you enjoy being flattened. That comforting nighttime snoring turns into seismic vibrations that crack foundations. And the age-old battle over blanket stealing reaches new extremes when the thief weighs more than your car. Grooming routines become extreme sports. Bath time involves fire hoses and construction equipment. Nail trimming requires power tools normally used in mining operations. And brushing that luxurious prehistoric coat. You'll need a team of helpers and several days off work. Home security takes on new meaning. Forget about burglars when you've got a protective Ceratosaurus guarding the yard. Though the mail carrier might disagree after the third friendly greeting incident this week. And those neighborhood watch meetings get awkward when discussing whose carnivore keeps eating the local cats. Holiday decorations become survival challenges. That tinsel looks delicious to a hungry hadrosaur. Christmas trees last approximately 3 seconds before becoming chew toys. And Halloween, let's just say no one's brave enough to trick or treat on your block anymore. Even simple household chores transform dramatically. Vacuuming up dino fur requires industrial equipment. Cleaning up after outdoor playtime means renting earth movers. And that satisfying moment when you finally get the last pet hair off your clothes. Gone forever in a world where your pet sheds individual feathers larger than your entire wardrobe. Yet through all these challenges, the heartwarming moments remain. That special bond when your giant lizard recognizes you after a long day. The joy of teaching your dino a new trick even if Fetch now involves retrieving entire trees. And the comforting knowledge that no matter what, you'll always have leftovers, because your pet is happy to finish everything, including the containers, and possibly the fridge. Let's examine the social dynamics of a world with domesticated dinosaurs. Neighborhood barbecues become extreme sporting events when your guest list includes multiple hungry carnivores. That awkward small talk about the weather gets more interesting when you're simultaneously preventing your Allosaurus from eating the host's poodle. Playdate arrangements require military-level coordination. Sure, little Timmy can come over, but does he have his own protective cage? Dog parks evolve into fortified compounds with observation towers and emergency exits. The phrase, "they're just playing," takes on new meaning when the play involves teeth the size of steak knives. Dating becomes an entirely new adventure. First dates now include the critical question, do you have any large carnivores I should know about? Romantic walks on the beach require constant vigilance for hungry marine reptiles in the shallows. And nothing tests a relationship like arguing over whose turn it is to clean up after the shared Tyrannosaurus. Family gatherings reach unprecedented levels of chaos. Grandma's antique furniture doesn't stand a chance against an excited juvenile sauropod. Holiday meals now require portion sizes measured in tons rather than servings. And those classic family photos. Everyone smiling nervously while keeping one eye on Uncle Bob's harmless Compsognathus pack. Workplace culture adapts in strange ways. Bring Your Dino to Work Day becomes the most anticipated and feared event on the corporate calendar. Office politics intensify when promotions might depend on whose pet can intimidate the boss. And the break room fridge mysteriously empties faster than ever before. Public spaces undergo dramatic transformations. Restaurants install dino parking zones and reinforced outdoor seating. Movie theaters offer family sections, with extra-wide aisles for tails. Public transportation introduces herbivore-only cars to avoid messy incidents. And parks post weight limits on playground equipment. The justice system faces novel challenges. Court dockets fill with cases like State vs. Pickles the Raptor, for repeated mailbox destruction. Lawyers specialize in dino-related liability claims. Jury selection now includes screening for prehistoric pet biases. And the prison system experiments with dinosaur-assisted rehabilitation programs. Education evolves to accommodate new realities. Schools invest in reinforced classrooms and dino-proof textbooks. Field trips require armored buses and contingency plans. Science fairs feature innovative projects like taming the T-Rex, behavioral modification through snack reinforcement. And the term, class pet, takes on terrifying new possibilities. Social media explodes with new trends. Dino Talk showcases the latest in prehistoric pet fashion and training techniques. Influencers risk life and limb for the perfect Parasaurolophus selfie. Viral challenges like, ride your raptor, keep emergency rooms busy. And online dating profiles prominently display dino compatibility scores. Yet through all this social upheaval, human nature remains unchanged. There's still that one neighbor who refuses to clean up after their pet, even when the pet is a dump truck-sized hadrosaur. Teenagers still find ways to sneak their pterodactyls out at night. And someone will always insist their carnivore wouldn't hurt a fly, despite all evidence to the contrary. Let's consider the environmental impact of domesticated dinosaurs. The carbon footprint of a single Brachiosaurus would make SUVs look eco-friendly. Those methane emissions alone could accelerate climate change by centuries. Forget about reducing your plastic use, you'd need to worry about your dino's appetite for entire forests. Local ecosystems would collapse under the pressure. Backyard herbivores would strip neighborhoods bare faster than locust swarms. Carnivore owners would face constant complaints about missing livestock and pets. Bird feeders become all-you-can-eat buffets for hungry pterosaurs. And that peaceful koi pond, instant snack bar for any passing Spinosaurus. Water usage reaches crisis levels. A single thirsty sauropod could drain a community pool in one gulp. Municipalities would implement strict dino watering schedules and drought restrictions. Homeowners install industrial-scale water tanks just to keep their pets hydrated. And forget about long showers, your water ration barely covers the dinosaur's needs. Waste management becomes a nightmare. The mountains of droppings would require dedicated disposal facilities. Composting takes on new dimensions when your fertilizer pile could fill a stadium. Sewage systems need complete redesigns to handle prehistoric bathroom habits. And that distinctive, pet smell, now lingers for miles around dino neighborhoods. Noise pollution reaches unbearable levels. The morning chorus of hungry theropods would replace alarm clocks citywide. Those cute dog barks become earth-shaking roars that rattle windows. Noise ordinance laws get rewritten with seismic measurements. And white noise machines sell out as people try to drown out the constant bellowing. Urban planning faces unprecedented challenges. Sidewalks need dinosaur lanes with reinforced concrete. Traffic lights include signals for crossing herds. Parking regulations adjust for tail swing clearance. And architects design buildings with dino-scale entrances and reinforced lower floors. The energy grid struggles to adapt. Streetlights must be raised tails-proof. Power lines require armored casing against curious beaks. Substations need fortress-like protections. And brownouts become common when dinosaurs lean against transformer boxes. Agricultural systems undergo radical changes. Farmers build Jurassic-scale fences to protect crops. Livestock operations relocate to fortified compounds. Organic markets boom as people seek dinosaur-safe produce. And that farm-to-table movement now includes, which pasture your dino didn't trample, certifications. Yet despite these challenges, creative solutions emerge. Entrepreneurs market dino-sized biodegradable poop bags. Engineers develop specialized waste-to-energy plants. Urban designers create vertical grazing parks. And someone inevitably starts a "Save the Palm Trees" campaign against hungry herbivores. The most ironic twist: after all this environmental chaos, we might finally understand the real reason dinosaurs went extinct the first time. They probably destroyed their own ecosystem too. Let's explore the cultural revolution sparked by domesticated dinosaurs. The fashion industry would undergo radical changes as designers create dino-friendly attire. Reinforced shoes become essential footwear after one too many accidental stompings. Handbags evolve into armored cases to protect contents from curious snouts. And haute couture runways feature models bravely strutting alongside temperamental raptors. The music scene adapts in unexpected ways. Concerts install dino pits instead of mosh pits. Rock bands employ soundproofing to avoid triggering territorial roars. Classical musicians write symphonies incorporating prehistoric vocalizations. And DJs discover that certain bass frequencies make carnivores oddly docile. Literature takes a prehistoric turn. Romance novels feature brooding tyrannosaur owners with hearts of gold. Mystery writers craft whodunits where the prime suspect is always the butler's compsognathus. Children's books teach manners through How to Train Your Dinosaur series. And poetry slams gain intensity when performed in front of live theropod audiences. Cinema experiences a Jurassic renaissance. Action movies feature heroic dino handlers saving cities. Romantic comedies explore interspecies love stories. Horror films finally have legitimate monsters readily available. And documentary crews risk life and limb to capture a day in the life of a domesticated carnivore. Television programming undergoes dramatic shifts. Reality shows follow dino whisperers rehabilitating aggressive ankylosaurs. Cooking programs teach how to prepare meals measured in tons. Home improvement series focus on dino-proofing your living space. And news broadcasts include regular Dino Watch segments tracking neighborhood incidents. The art world embraces new mediums. Sculptors work in scales previously unimaginable. Painters create works using tail swipes and claw marks. Performance artists stage daring exhibitions with live predators. And graffiti artists face new challenges when their canvases might literally eat them. Sports evolve to incorporate prehistoric elements. Raptor racing becomes the new horse racing. Dino polo replaces traditional equestrian versions. Extreme sports feature daredevils riding pterosaurs. And the Olympics introduce new categories like synchronized stomping and precision roaring. Gastronomy reaches new heights as chefs experiment with dino-friendly cuisine. Restaurants offer specialized menus for herbivore and carnivore companions. Food trucks serve prehistoric-sized snacks on the go. Molecular gastronomists create dishes that satisfy both human and dinosaur palates. And food critics develop new rating systems accounting for pet satisfaction. Holiday traditions transform completely. Christmas features giant stockings and dinosaur-sized sweaters. Halloween costumes include matching human dino outfits. Valentine's Day sees a boom in prehistoric mating displays. And New Year's Eve parties end with synchronized roaring at midnight. Through all these cultural shifts, One thing remains clear: humanity's endless creativity would find ways to adapt, even if it means reinventing every aspect of our shared culture. The question isn't whether we could domesticate dinosaurs, but whether we could domesticate our own wild ideas about how to live with them. Let's examine the technological revolution that domesticated dinosaurs would trigger. Forget self-driving cars. The real innovation would be dinosaur-proof infrastructure. Civil engineers would develop pavement that withstands 1,000-pound footsteps. Architects would design buildings with reinforced dino lounges and snack compartments. Elevator manufacturers would need to create carriages capable of transporting a Triceratops to the penthouse suite. The transportation sector would require radical overhauls. Traffic lights would need new signals, a flashing amber raptor silhouette meaning, "Caution, predator crossing." Car manufacturers would install dino collision avoidance systems more sophisticated than airbags. Bike lanes would become armored tunnels for cyclist protection. And parking garages would expand vertically to accommodate long-necked dinos peering over rooftops. Consumer electronics would adapt to prehistoric needs. Smart collars would evolve into sophisticated tracking systems monitoring location, appetite, and aggression levels. Automatic feeders would scale up to dump truck capacity. Pet cameras would require industrial-strength mounting to survive enthusiastic headbutts. And someone would inevitably invent a translator for dinosaur vocalizations that mostly just says, "hungry," on repeat. The medical field would boom with dinosaur-related specialties. Veterinary schools would offer advanced degrees in paleomedicine with residency programs at zoos turned dino hospitals. MRI machines would expand to airplane hangar sizes. Pharmaceutical companies would develop tranquilizers measured in swimming pools rather than milliliters. And telemedicine would take on new urgency for, is this normal dino behavior? Consultations. Agricultural tech would leap forward under constant demand for mass food production. Vertical farming would become essential for growing enough greens for herbivores. Robotic harvesters would work round the clock to meet carnivore feeding requirements. Drone technology would advance quickly to monitor grazing herds over vast areas. And lab-grown meat would finally find its killer app, quite literally, as the sustainable solution for hungry predators. The energy sector would face unprecedented challenges and innovations. Solar panel arrays would need dinosaur-resistant coatings. Wind farms would require reinforced bases in case of curious tail swipes. Power plants would develop emergency protocols for when a stray sauropod leaning on the facility. And electric vehicle charging stations would need dinosaur-proof barriers to prevent charging cable snacks. Communication networks would evolve to meet new social needs. 5G towers would be built sturdier to serve as scratching posts. Neighborhood apps would feature real-time, dino alerts, about loose predators. Social media would develop new filters to make your selfies with dinosaurs look less terrifying. And dating apps would introduce compatibility algorithms based on dinosaur lifestyle preferences. Military applications would take disturbing turns. Police departments would debate whether to train raptors for K9 units. Border patrols would consider the pros and cons of using carnivores as natural barriers. Arms manufacturers would develop non-lethal weapons specifically for dinosaur crowd control. And international summits would include negotiations about strategic dino arms limitations. Yet through all these technological marvels, the simplest problems often prove most challenging. Someone still needs to invent a dinosaur umbrella capable of shielding you from both rain and enthusiastic saliva showers. Or a leash strong enough to restrain a playful predator but light enough to carry. And don't get me started on the eternal quest for the perfect dino toothbrush that doesn't make you risk losing fingers. Let's consider the psychological impact of living with domesticated dinosaurs. The constant low-level anxiety of coexisting with creatures that could eat you would reshape human behavior. Therapy offices would be filled with patients working through, "my dinosaur ate my best friend," trauma. Psychologists would develop new treatment modalities for post-traumatic dino disorder. And the phrase, "it's just a phase," takes on new meaning when your teenager wants a carnivore instead of a motorcycle. Parenting strategies would need complete overhauls. "Don't talk to strangers" evolves into, "don't let strangers, dinosaurs talk to you." Bedtime stories feature cautionary tales about wandering into a theropod's territory. The Birds and Bees Talk now includes a detailed explanation of dinosaur mating rituals you definitely don't want to witness. And, "because I said so," gains new authority when you're holding a tranquilizer dart. Workplace psychology would adapt to the new normal. HR departments develop policies for dinosaur-related workplace incidents. Team building exercises include trust falls, away from hungry mouths. Office politics intensify when the boss's pet gets preferential treatment. And that annoying coworker who microwaves fish now has a pet that could literally eat you for lunch. Educational psychology would face unprecedented challenges. Teachers develop new strategies for managing classroom dinos. School counselors help students navigate the social hierarchy of whose pet is most impressive. Bullying prevention programs expand to include, "Don't let your carnivore eat the class nerd." And standardized testing now includes a practical component on dinosaur handling. Social psychology would explore fascinating new dynamics. Researchers study how dinosaur ownership affects dating preferences. Sociologists examine the class divisions between herbivore and carnivore owners. Psychologists investigate whether people with predatory pets are more aggressive. And someone inevitably writes a best-selling book about what your dinosaur says about you. Mental health treatment would evolve to meet new needs. Anxiety medications would be prescribed for the constant low-level fear of being eaten. Phobia treatments would help people overcome their fear of being stepped on. Support groups would form for survivors of dino-related trauma. And couples therapy would often focus on whose turn it is to clean up after the Triceratops arguments. The self-help industry would boom with new offerings. Meditation apps would include Calm Your Inner Dinosaur exercises. Life coaches would specialize in achieving balance while managing prehistoric pets. Motivational speakers would tour with You Too Can Tame Your Inner Theropod seminars. And someone would make millions selling Jurassic Zen coloring books. Yet through all these psychological adaptations, human resilience shines through. We find ways to cope, to adapt, to find humor in the absurdity of our situation. That classic line, "This too shall pass," takes on new meaning when you're waiting for your dinosaur to finish blocking the driveway. And the universal human capacity for love extends even to creatures that view us as potential snacks. Let's examine the political landscape reshaped by domesticated dinosaurs. Election campaigns would take dramatic turns when candidates start promising a chicken in every pot and a stegosaurus in every backyard. Political debates would include heated arguments about dinosaur zoning laws and municipal grazing rights. That classic photo op of kissing babies becomes significantly riskier when the baby might be a baby Tyrannosaurus. Government agencies would expand to meet new regulatory needs. The Department of Prehistoric Pets would battle constantly with the Bureau of Land Management over grazing rights. Local councils would spend 90% of their meetings arguing about leash laws for pterosaurs. Environmental protection agencies would develop new metrics for measuring dino-related carbon footprints. And someone would inevitably propose a dinosaur tax that makes everyone furious. International relations would enter uncharted territory. Diplomatic summits would require specially reinforced venues. Trade negotiations would include heated debates about dino feed export quotas. Military strategists would ponder the pros and cons of combat raptors. And the United Nations would establish a new committee just to mediate disputes about migratory dinosaur patterns crossing borders. The justice system would strain under unprecedented caseloads. Courts would hear endless disputes about dinosaur property damage. Liability laws would be rewritten to account for prehistoric levels of destruction. Public defenders would develop specialties in dino-related misdemeanors. And law schools would add courses like Jurassic Jurisprudence 101. Public health systems would face novel challenges. Hospitals would need separate emergency wings for dino-related injuries. Epidemiologists would track new diseases crossing the species barrier. Vaccination programs would expand to include prehistoric pathogens. And mental health services would be overwhelmed by cases of chronic dino anxiety. Education policy would require complete restructuring. School boards would debate whether dinosaur handling should be part of the core curriculum. Standardized tests would include practical dino safety components. Teacher training programs would incorporate prehistoric behavior studies. And parent-teacher conferences would often involve discussions about whose pet ate the classroom iguana. Tax codes would become impossibly complex. Deductions for prehistoric pet care expenses would spawn endless loopholes. Municipal budgets would balloon to cover dino-related infrastructure damage. Property assessments would now consider dino-proofing as a value factor. And the IRS would need a special task force just to audit suspicious claims about working raptors on farms. Yet through all this bureaucratic chaos, the essence of politics remains unchanged. There's still that one local official obsessed with banning something ridiculous, like carnivores within city limits. Special interest groups still find ways to exploit the system, probably by lobbying for big dino subsidies. And voters still make decisions based on which candidate's pet looks most presidential on camera. The ultimate irony, after all this political upheaval, we might finally achieve bipartisan agreement on one thing: maybe some creatures are better left extinct. But of course, by then it would be too late. The dinosaurs would already have eaten half the committee studying the issue. Let's conclude our journey through this domesticated dinosaur dystopia with some final thoughts. While the idea of having prehistoric pets sparks excitement, we've uncovered countless complications that would arise, from economic collapses to psychological trauma, from environmental disasters to political chaos. Perhaps some boundaries between species should remain uncrossed, some chapters of evolutionary history best left closed. Yet pondering these absurd scenarios serves a valuable purpose. It stretches our imagination, challenges our assumptions about human-animal relationships, and makes us appreciate the relatively manageable problems of regular pet ownership. After all, cleaning up after a Great Dane seems trivial compared to managing a great carnivore. This thought experiment reminds us that every technological or biological advancement comes with complex consequences. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, especially when there's a hungry brachiosaurus grazing on it. Our ability to envision these scenarios, as ridiculous as they may be, is what makes human creativity so remarkable. If this wild exploration of dino domestication has entertained you, made you think, or kept you from being eaten by an imaginary predator, consider supporting What If Horizons. Leave a comment sharing what prehistoric creature you'd least want as a pet. Subscribe for more mind-bending explorations of absurd possibilities. And remember, no matter how bad you think your day is going, at least you don't have to explain to your homeowners association why your Tyrannosaurus ate the neighbor's minivan. Again, thanks for listening, and keep wondering about the wild what-ifs that make our world more fascinating. Just maybe don't try bringing any prehistoric eggs home. We've seen how that plays out in the movies, and it never ends well for the humans. Stay curious, stay safe, and keep imagining with What If Horizons.